Standardized testing. Is there a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Today we're going to look at the positive and negative implications of standardized tests on our students. Why give standardized tests? Well, the regular assessment of students serves critical educational and life learning functions. It focuses the efforts of educators and students on mastering important material. Testing provides educators with crucial intelligence about the needs and abilities of students and the performance of academic programs. Regular assessment provides students and parents with useful feedback regarding how well the student is building important skills and knowledge in the classroom. It provides student with an important skill, test-taking experience and facility. This will serve them well throughout their lives. A wealth of evidence confirms that testing alone boosts student achievement. Scores allow administrators and teachers to gauge the performance of students' acceptance and effectiveness of the current curriculum. Please take a moment and watch this clip from the CBS Evening News. 4 years after President Bush signed the landmark education bill known as No Child Left Behind, critics say the system has focused too much on testing. What do you think? We just spoke about why we should give tests, but now let's look at why we should not give standardized tests to our students. Standardized tests have cost students as young as grade 3 the need to learn coping skills in order to deal with stress and anxiety associated with high-stakes testing. Based on the location of the school, whether it be rural, urban, or suburban, principals feel differently about the tests. Rural administrators especially feel differently about high-stakes testing. They perceive themselves to be more negatively affected in attracting and retaining high-quality teachers. They report feeling a lot of pressure due to the state tests, and they reported feeling more pressure to improve their test scores. The percentage of students passing standardized state tests has become the defining measure of whether or not schools are successful. However, there are no factors incorporated into the test scores. Studies show that the variance among test scores can be predicted by knowing the demographic characteristics of the students within the state. As much as 94% of the state variation of this SAT can be explained by students' academic standing, parent income and education, and race. 90% of the variance can be predicted with parent education and race alone. So what can standardized testing show us? Holding schools and educators accountable for student performance on tests aligned to high standards of what students should know and be able to do. The consequences are often attached to test results. It may include school improvement plans, technical assistance, increased or decreased funding for schools, salary bonuses, promotions, loss of accreditation, and takeovers of local schools by the state. Such consequences are used to leverage change at the school and classroom level. Standardized testing can also be used to evaluate programs. Many federal and state education programs use standardized tests to determine if public policy objectives are being achieved and if public funds are being well spent. What can standardized testing not show us? Growth. Accurate school growth. Since one is comparing previous students to current students, we are not able to accurately see the growth of individual students. It does not show us academic performance. Test scores do not show us whether students should be promoted or retained. However, the scores are being used for such a purpose. Outside factors. Some of the outside factors that impact students' learning are split families, demographics, socioeconomic status, race, parents' education level. Standardized testing does not take any of this into account. Finally, stress and anxiety. Standardized testing does not show us the anxiety and stress that is felt among students, teachers, parents, and school staff. So what are some problems with standardized tests? Well, it's underfunded. No Child Left Behind's unfunded mandate was to eliminate all test score gaps in 12 years, assumes that schools by themselves can overcome the educational consequences of poverty and racism. Not only has the federal government failed to meet the social, economic, and health-related needs of many children, but No Child Left Behind itself does not authorize nearly enough funding to meet its new requirements. The one-size-fits-all assessment requirements, annual testing in reading and math, and periodic testing in science, and the accountability provisions attached to them are rigid, harmful, and ultimately unworkable. They will promote bad educational practices and deform curriculum in significant ways. In the end, they will lower, not raise, standards for most students. Finally, school improvement. Estimates by groups such as the National Conference of State Legislators suggested some 70% of the nation's schools will be declared in need of improvement before the decade is over and thus be subject to escalating sanctions. Florida reported that 87% of its schools and all of its districts failed to meet adequate yearly progress in 2002-2003. No Child Left Behind's punitive test and label approach to accountability is the foundation for an equally ineffective approach to school improvement. But if schools are required to give standardized tests, what type of information can we get from them? Tests can provide information on individual student or group performance that can be interpreted and used in many different ways. Students' proficiency in basic skills and their ability to meet academic standards is one thing that standardized tests can show us. Testing data can be used to generate information for teachers, parents, and policymakers, and can be used to make decisions about schools and students. Who supports standardized tests? Teachers do. A poll by the American Federation of Teachers documented deep support for standards and assessments among teachers. The website, the American Federation of Teachers, has, and for many years, been supportive of quality standardized assessment that is fair and timely, and that informs and supports instruction. When used appropriately, assessments are a valuable tool in improving education for all children. The American public. A survey released by the Business Roundtable in September 2000 found that 85% of the American public says statewide tests are useful to schools in evaluating how well students are performing. Parents. A survey by the Association of American Publishers found overwhelming parental support for standardized tests. According to the survey, a large majority of parents believe that standardized tests provide important information about their children's educational progress, and 9 out of 10 parents said they want comparative data about their children and the schools they attend. So, who does not support standardized tests? Teachers! They do not support standardized tests in the current format they are being utilized. The National Center for Fair and Open Testing is an organization that believes that high-stakes testing is unfair to many students. It leads to grade retention and dropouts, promotes teaching to the test, drives out good teachers, misinforms the public, and ultimately high-stakes testing does not improve education. And authors. Alfie Kohn writes and speaks widely on human behavior, education, and parenting. The author of 12 books and scores of articles, he lectures at educational conferences and universities, as well as to parent groups and corporations. He states in his writings the facts about high-stakes testing, in addition to focusing on reasons why some schools perform better than others. In conclusion, public schools face challenges in regards to No Child Left Behind. Both sides of the heavily debated issue of high-stakes testing have been presented. So, is there a pot of gold at the end of the high-stakes testing rainbow? You be the judge. Thank you so much for listening to the presentation about high-stakes testing and its effect on our students.
Someday you wish upon a star, wake up with clouds of fog.